Imagine, for a moment, that your consciousness is a room. Inside, everything is familiar: the furniture of memory, the walls of language, the windows of perception. We live in this room every day, mistaking it for the entirety of reality. Now imagine that, through some strange key, whether a mushroom, a cactus, or a vial of liquid, you unlock a hidden door. Beyond it, the room expands into something incomprehensibly vast. Colors ripple with meaning, time dissolves into eternity, and the very sense of you begins to blur into everything else. That door is the psychedelic experience. But what does stepping through it mean? Are psychedelics simply chemical illusions, tricks of the brain? Or do they allow us to glimpse truths about consciousness, reality, and even the divine? This is the philosophical challenge of psychedelics. And in this essay, we'll explore them not as mere substances, but as profound encounters with the foundations of mind and world. Part 1. Perception as a filter. Most of the time, we assume that what we see is reality. But philosophers from Plato to Kant have warned us otherwise. Plato imagined us chained in a cave, mistaking shadows for the truth. Kant argued that our mind structures raw reality into categories like space, time, and causality. Modern neuroscience calls this predictive processing. Our brain is not a camera, but a filter simplifying the infinite chaos of reality into something survivable. Psychedelics disrupt this filter. They loosen the grip of the mind's categories, flooding us with sensations and meanings normally suppressed. Aldous Huxley described the brain as a reducing valve, narrowing consciousness so we aren't overwhelmed. Under psychedelics, the valve opens, and suddenly we are confronted with a torrent of raw experience. This raises a philosophical puzzle. If our ordinary reality is just one way of carving up the chaos, then psychedelics don't simply distort reality, they reveal that reality itself is not fixed but flexible. Part 2. The self as an illusion. Perhaps the most profound effect of psychedelics is the dissolution of the ego, the sense of being a separate I. Normally, we live with a clear boundary. This is me, and that is the world. But under psychedelics, that boundary can melt. You may feel at one with nature, with the universe, or with an infinite consciousness. Buddhist philosophy calls the self an illusion, what's known as anatta, or no self. Neuroscience supports this idea, suggesting that the self is not a thing but a process, a looping narrative the brain constantly generates. Psychedelics disrupt this process, showing us that the I is less stable than we believe. The experience can be liberating, bringing feelings of unity, love, and transcendence. But it can also be terrifying because when the ego dissolves, the usual anchor of identity disappears. The question becomes, if I am not fundamental, then what is? Part 3. Across cultures, psychedelics have long been used as sacred tools. The Mazatec shamans of Mexico use psilocybin mushrooms for healing and divination. Amazonian tribes drink ayahuasca to connect with spirits. Indigenous peoples of North America use peyote in ritual settings. The common thread is not recreation, but revelation. Psychedelics are seen as a doorway to the divine, a way of contacting the deeper layers of reality. Philosophers and psychologists in the West have echoed this. William James, in The Varieties of Religious Experience, argued that mystical states are authoritative for those who experience them, even if they can't be proven to outsiders. Psychedelics induce these states: ineffability, timelessness, a sense of unity, and profound meaning. But here lies the existential question: are these experiences genuine glimpses of transcendence or just hallucinations? The philosopher's answer is complex. Even if they are just brain activity, they can reveal truths about us: our need for meaning, our longing for unity, our capacity for awe. Illusion, after all, does not mean irrelevance. Part 4. Psychedelics as philosophy and practice. Philosophy has always been about questioning reality. Descartes doubted his senses, Plato imagined higher worlds, Nietzsche urged us to shatter illusions. Psychedelics are, in a way, philosophy enacted directly in the nervous system. Instead of speculating about what it would be like if perception were different, psychedelics let us live it. Instead of debating whether the self is real, psychedelics dissolve it before our eyes. This doesn't make psychedelics a shortcut to wisdom. They can overwhelm, confuse, or even harm if misused, but they dramatize philosophical questions in a way no book can. They force us to confront the instability of perception, the fragility of the self, and the hunger for meaning. Part 5. The Danger and the Promise. Of course, not all psychedelic experiences are beautiful. They can be terrifying, albeit trips full of paranoia, confusion, and despair. Philosophically, this is equally important, for it reveals that the mind is not simply a source of enlightenment, but also of chaos. Nietzsche warned that when we stare into the abyss stares back. Psychedelics open the abyss inside us. And yet, many who undergo these dark nights of the mind report growth afterward, greater self-understanding, reduced fear of death, even healing from trauma. Modern science is beginning to confirm this. Clinical studies suggest that psychedelics combined with therapy can treat depression, anxiety, and addiction. In this sense, psychedelics are not only philosophical tools, but medical ones, reminding us that healing is often intertwined with transformation. Conclusion: the mirror of the mind. So, what? Finally, is the philosophy of psychedelics. It is the recognition that the mind is not a fixed chamber, but a vast landscape with doors we rarely open. Psychedelics do not answer our philosophical questions for us, but they deepen them. They remind us that perception is filtered, the self is fragile, and reality is stranger than we can imagine. Whether you see them as sacred sacraments, dangerous drugs, or neural experiments, psychedelics function as a mirror. They show us what we usually cannot see, the constructedness of our ordinary world and the possibility of worlds beyond it. Perhaps, in the end, the true philosophy of psychedelics is humility, the recognition that consciousness is deeper, wider, and more mysterious than any of us can fully grasp. And that sometimes, to understand the mind, we must first be willing to step beyond it.